keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. The tale of the tape. In this episode, we're going to get into the numbers. We're going to talk about how the 49ers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers match up and what the numbers of the season tell us about how each team is producing on offense, how each team is producing on defense, areas where one team is good and the other is not so good, and then, of course, where both teams are really good, and that's going to make for a clash of the Titans. You got a very good Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense and a very good 49ers offense as well. So something's got to give, and we've seen the Buccaneers this season have absolute shootouts. They've been a fun team. Now they're dealing with some injuries at key positions, especially in the skill player department, where they're without their two top wide receivers in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And Godwin's not coming back this season, which means at some point Evans will come back, and this offense will probably return to the dynamic form because he's a bona fide Hall of Famer and an absolute stud at the position. But the 49ers don't have to worry about him in this game, but they've got plenty to worry about when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because the Bucs have been a good football team. Now, they haven't been a great team, and they really have been on a little bit of a slide recently. You look at their record, and they're just not hanging where they want to be. They should be probably at the head of the NFC South. That's how they were playing early on in the season, but we've seen them come back down to earth. Their defense just really has been letting them down this season. You look at the 49ers, they're 4-4 on the season at 500, and they know that they should have been a lot further along than they are. They let the Arizona Cardinals and Los Angeles Rams sneak back into football games after having 10-point fourth quarter leads, and both of those games are looming large in the 49ers record. We're looking at their record right now at 6-2. I think everyone would feel pretty comfortable about where they're sitting. They'd be number one in the NFC West. They'd be right in the thick of the potential number one seed in the playoffs for the NFC, right behind the Detroit Lions, but they're not. And that's because they let things slip away. And right now, they've got to make sure they don't let any more games slip away. And you've got an interesting team with the Bucs that can make things happen down the stretch. We just watched them on Monday night against the Chiefs and against that really good Chiefs defense when they needed a touchdown down the stretch, go right down the field. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin, no problem for Baker Mayfield in this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. So it's going to be a tough test for the 49ers defense. They're going to have to make sure they step up. They could be without Mooney Ward. We'll see what happens. But they've got to make sure that they can go out there and still execute at a high level with the guys that are going to be out there. I'm excited about this one. I'm excited to get into all the numbers. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. To all the new subscribers, thank you so much. It's been awesome, so thank you. And also, please, if you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. Leave a review if you have an opportunity. It goes a long way to help push out the content and just get it higher ranked so that way more people can check it out. Benefits me greatly. But if you're going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football to NBA to college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA, head to Bet Online today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here. So we know what the records are, right? The 49ers are sitting just ahead of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when you're looking at playoff seeding. But for the 49ers, they have 9 games left to distance themselves when it comes to wild card and try to get in position to potentially get one of those spots. But their main objective is to win the division. Well, you have to win games against all NFC foes if you're going to have a chance to get into the playoffs and win the division. And right now, the Arizona Cardinals are ahead of the division. So you've got to keep pace. You've got to make it to where when you have the opportunities to play the NFC West teams, you can overtake them with a head-to-head win. Right now, that means they got to go all the way to the end of the season in Week 18 when they play the Arizona Cardinals. They got to stick with them. So this is a big-time game for the San Francisco 49ers, and they got to make sure they do some things against the Bucs. And for the Bucs, they have to make sure that they win. Number one, they want to keep a grip on what's going on with Atlanta. They're not out of it yet, and so they want to make sure they still have an opportunity to potentially win the South, but they can't afford to fall 2 games back to the 49ers for a potential wild card spot either. So Tampa Bay's trying to hold on. The 49ers are trying to move forward and hit a second half surge. It's going to be an interesting one. So let's look at their DVOA and their efficiency levels. 49ers right now, total DVOA, number 5 in the league. Kind of just goes to show that they should be a lot better than their 4-4 record, but they let games slip away. But you look over at Tampa Bay, they're number 12, pretty good, top half of the NFL. So you got 2 teams that are top half of the NFL as far as total DVOA. 49ers top 5. This has been a consistent thing for them over the last several years. So good football team's going to be battling on Sunday with the 49ers versus the Bucs. You look at points per game, and boy, can the Tampa Bay Buccaneers score points, averaging nearly 29 points per game. Very impressive offensive performance, and they get it done. They are able to convert on third down. We'll talk about that in a minute. They're able to win in the red zone. They are just superb when it comes to offense. They run the ball well. They throw the ball well. This is a well-rounded offense, and they've had playmakers around Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield's having his best season of his entire career. So this team has really been firing on all cylinders. You look at their offensive line, and they've spent a lot of draft capital on their offensive line. You got Tristan Wirfs, first-round pick, right? You got Graham Barton, first-round pick. He's the center. You've got Cody Mock. He's playing guard. They have definitely spent a lot of draft capital to make sure this offensive line is good, and it's kind of touch and go. The offensive line is good at times, and then sometimes it is not. But you look at the points per game, and they have almost a full field goal advantage over the 49ers as far as points per game. 49ers know they've got to score more touchdowns, and a lot of that's going to come down to red zone effectiveness. And maybe a guy, number 23, Christian McCaffrey, coming back could change the red zone effectiveness for the 49ers. I definitely think if he's in the lineup, that's exactly what will happen, because Christian McCaffrey has proven to do that. Since he came to the 49ers in 2022, we've seen a stark difference between their effectiveness scoring touchdowns in the red zone with him and without him. And it's dropped nearly 20 points this season, which is absolutely crazy. You look at offensive yards per game, and the 49ers have been able to move the football up and down the field consistently. Just proof is, look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Even though they've been a very prolific offense this season, the 49ers still outgain them. And it's just something we've seen the 49ers do all season. They just consistently have drives where they move down the field. They don't normally go 3 and out. They're consistent on using time of possession, and they just march down the field. Their problem has been, once they get to the red zone, they stall, and they can't get anything into the red zone. I shouldn't say anything, but it feels like that sometimes. They have been ineffective in the red zone, and especially the lower red zone, 10 yards in, has been a real weakness for the 49ers this season. You look at Tampa Bay, they're able to move the ball as well. And so you talk about that even distribution that you're looking for, 250 yards through the air and then 150 yards rushing on the ground. That makes the most balance on offense and usually creates the most time of possession lead for your football team. So that's what you're trying to get as far as the distribution between the two, and that's what both of these teams are trying to do. And you look at the rush yards, San Francisco 49ers running game has still been so good without Christian McCaffrey. Whether it's Jordan Mason or Isaac Guerrero or Deebo Samuel or Brock Purdy using his legs or now Ricky Pearsall, the 49ers have found ways to get the run game going. And when the run game is going for the San Francisco 49ers football team, there's not many more that do it better than they do. So you're going to have the reinsurgence of Christian McCaffrey into the lineup. That means he's going to have opportunities to run the football. And I think that he's just, his vision and the way that he carries the football is going to be huge for the 49ers, even in the run game. I think he's going to make a big difference there. We're talking about a run game last year that averaged 141 with McCaffrey, that now averages 159 without him. So it's going to be interesting to see if the 49ers are still able to continue down this runway of being able to run the football consistently, and what McCaffrey does to the run game. Does it actually increase and the yardage go up? Could they average 165, 170 yards a game on the ground? It's going to be interesting. And you look over at the Bucs, and they've been able to run the ball consistently as well. They've got a nice 1-2 punch, and they've got a mixture of speed and power. And so they've been consistent running the football, and Baker Mayfield can use his legs as well to extend plays, get a little bit of yardage. So it's a well-rounded offense, and I love the Bucs' attention to making sure they'll stick with the run. They will run the ball on first and second down at times and just kind of be bullish about, hey, we're going to run the football, and then let Baker Mayfield try to get it on third down. Now, last week, I don't feel like they ran the ball enough against the Kansas City Chiefs, but they put themselves in position to win that football game down the stretch, so it wasn't bad. But they did rush for 95 yards against the Kansas City Chiefs last week. So run games for both teams are good. Run defenses for both not as good, and we'll talk about defense here in a minute. Let's talk about the pass offense, where both these teams are basically identical, pretty close to 250 for each. Of course, the Bucs at 250 per game. They have played one more game, so remember that when you're talking about the stats. 49ers at 253. And so you see the balance from the 49ers, rush to pass. They're right where you want to be. That's where you get the efficiency when it comes to DVOA and everything else. 49ers very efficient in every area except third down and red zone, which is why their point total is not over what it should be. And it's right where it's at right now at 26 points per game. You look at Tampa Bay, they've been kind of balanced, and they would love to get a little bit more on the ground, but they haven't had to do that. They've been playing pretty well when it comes to getting the ball in the air. Now, I'm curious what's going to happen with the wide receiver changes. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. So you insert into the lineup Trey Palmer, Sterling Shepard, Ryan Miller. We'll see what happens with Jake McMillan. He couldn't go last week. We'll see if he's available against the 49ers. My expectation is that Jalen McMillan will play and that he'll be ready to go. So they're going to have some guys out there that are going to have to get it done. The 49ers can't take them lightly. You got to make sure you play well. So let's see if the passing attack kind of falls off a little bit. Maybe they focus more on the run game against the 49ers, since the 49ers run defense is not as good. Chiefs run defense was absolutely fantastic. So you got to get it done through the air against them. Now let's talk about the quarterbacks. I talked about Baker Mayfield having probably the best season of his entire career. And you just look at his completion percentage, 71.4%. That is phenomenal. Brock Purdy at 64.5, which has had a huge dip from last season. He hasn't been as accurate with the football this season. And then he's also had a bunch of different players out there playing wide receiver. No Brandon Ayuk now, so that's going to be pivotal as well. But you can see Baker, even though he's played one more game, and that's going to be reflective when it comes to yards per game, he's been highly efficient. And so the 49ers defense is going to have to make sure they pressure Baker Mayfield. You look at yards, through the air this season, Brock at 21.01. At one point in the season, he was leading the league in yards, as far as total yards passing the football. That's not the case anymore. As you see, Baker Mayfield's at 23.89. Of course, one more football game, but still, Baker Mayfield's having a game. Now, here's the crazy one. Touchdowns. Baker Mayfield, 23 touchdowns. That is highly impressive. Phenomenal job by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield getting the ball into the end zone. Brock Purdy at 10. Of course, the 49ers do run the football in the red zone a lot, and that's where they get some of the touchdowns, but they haven't been as effective in the red zone. The Bucs have been mightily effective in the red zone, and I think that is definitely displayed in these numbers of touchdown numbers. You look at interceptions, Brock Purdy has been more careful with the football than Baker Mayfield, but Mayfield, when you're looking at a 2-to-1 average, he's well ahead of that. So he's doing a good job taking care of the football as well. And Brock Purdy really is not at that 2-to-1 ratio because the touchdowns just haven't materialized this season. So he's got to get it going. Hopefully, Christian McCaffrey and Jawan Jennings being back will help with that. Now, you look at sacks. Brock Purdy does a very good job avoiding sacks. The offensive line has done a pretty good job for the most part. And so he's been sacked 15 times. Baker Mayfield, 22. I talked about that offensive line and the investment into offensive line, but there's going to be some matchups that I like for the 49ers, including Nick Bosa versus Gadecki out on the outside. I think that's a matchup they're going to look to take advantage of. And then I want to see what happens with Cody Mock on the inside against Malik Collins. I think that could be advantage 49ers with Collins' power and power moves against a guy that doesn't anchor as well. He's good at athletically, good moving. So those are some matchups that I'm really interested to seeing in this football game. So very excited about the quarterback matchup as well. You look at the rating, look at what Baker Mayfield's doing, 105.6, and then Brock Purdy 93.7. If Baker Mayfield and the Bucs were number one in the division and they were ahead of the Atlanta Falcons, right now everyone would be talking about Baker Mayfield as far as an MVP candidate. That's how well he's playing this season. So the 49ers are going to have to be making sure they pay attention to where Baker Mayfield is, because he is definitely a weapon that the Buccaneers can rely on. He pulls the trigger. You got to slow him down. You look at offensive DVOA, 49ers at 7, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 6. About as close as it gets, right? For the way that these guys do these things. So it's going to be very, very fun for both of these teams in this matchup. And you see effectiveness, efficient offense for both. Two quarterbacks that are efficient and two offenses that are efficient, running the football, throwing the football, and taking care of the football. So this is going to be a good one. And DVOA always illustrates how good these offenses are really playing. And let's talk about third downs. And this is another discrepancy in the favor of Tampa Bay. Is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are far superior to the 49ers when it comes to third down conversion percentage. The Buccaneers are in the elite category. Anything over 50%, anything around there, you're really doing a good job. Last year, the 49ers were one of the best in the league, and they got up there around 48%. So you can tell how good Tampa Bay's been on third down. The 49ers defense hasn't really been able to get off the field on third down consistently. We heard John Lynch talk about the fact, he mentioned this to Greg Papa, that's something they need to tighten up. They need to be better on third down. I think they need to be better in the red zone. I think if you're a 49ers defense, you focus on third down, you focus on red zone. If you get better in both categories, your defense is going to be so much better and you're going to win more football games. So this is going to be a key category in this game, and it's an advantage for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers being able to convert at 51%. Now, how much of that is going to change with the loss of Chris Godwin with Mike Evans? It could be a big reason. Now, the 49ers are going to have to make sure they slow down tight end Cade Otton as well. He can also be a threat on third down and in the red zone. So 49ers got to do better. And you see the 49ers right now on third down offensively, not where you want it to be. There's been times this season they've been at 46, 47% as far as conversion rate on third down. That's where they need to get it. Over 45%. Hello, McCaffrey. That will space things out. Hello, Jawan Jennings. You do not get the moniker third and Jawan for no reason, and they haven't had him for a little bit. So those types of things could help this football team much better on third down. But of course, both these teams know the more effective they are on first and second down, the easier it is for them on third down. So that's going to be huge in this game. And let's see how the defenses play against it. It's pretty dead even. 49ers giving up third down conversion rates at a 44%, while the Tampa Bay Bucs are giving it up at 43%. Neither one of these are a good number. Both these teams would much rather be closer to 35%. That is where you have a really good defense on third down. You get close to 30%, that's elite. There's only been a couple of teams that have been able to maintain that through the season. But we've seen the 49ers go against some really good third down defenses already. Seattle was at 32%. The Kansas City Chiefs were at 35%. The Dallas Cowboys were at 32%. And they had pretty good effectiveness on third down against two of the three of those opponents. So they've proven that they can do it against really good defenses on third down. You look over at Tampa Bay, and you got to feel like the 49ers offense has an opportunity to get some first downs. But I think the biggest, once again, discrepancy, you got a 51% conversion rate for Tampa Bay against a 49ers defense that gives it up at 44%. Third downs are going to be a hyper focus of this football team. If Tampa Bay is able to get near 50% conversion rate, they're probably going to win this game. So this is going to be a huge category. Can the 49ers get off the field on third down? What's their plan to slow down Baker Mayfield, to confuse him so he can't find these receivers that could be open? We'll see. It's going to be a different cast of characters, but he can still get it done. That's going to be a key matchup. Third downs are going to be huge. Let's talk about the red zone. Just look at that number for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're scoring touchdowns at a 70% rate when they get in the red zone. So here's the idea. Nick Sorensen, 49ers defense, do not let them in the red zone. That is a better number than the 49ers finished with last year, and the 49ers were the best red zone offense in the league last season, 68%. So that just shows you how good the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been in the red zone this season and why Baker Mayfield has 23 touchdowns. Highly effective offense, especially inside the red zone. So this is going to be a key in this football game. Can the 49ers keep the Tampa Bay Buccaneers out of the red zone? And if they can't, can they force them to kick field goals? It's going to be a big-time challenge for the 49ers against a really good Tampa Bay offense that's got running backs that can do it out of the backfield. Like I talked about, K-Dot and the tight end. The one discrepancy is going to be you're not having those big-time wide receivers in this game. Now, for the 49ers, how much better is the red zone offense going to be reinserting a guy like Juwan Jennings and, of course, the red zone monster himself, Christian McCaffrey, the guy that can go for 4 touchdowns in a single game against the Arizona Cardinals? That's just the kind of ability he has. He is a touchdown monster, and a lot of it happens in the red zone. 49ers run the ball better in the red zone with Christian McCaffrey. They definitely pass the ball better with Christian McCaffrey inside the red zone. So presumably, this is going to be a huge advantage for the 49ers. And we're talking about a 20-point drop from last season. Last year, 68% of the time they scored touchdowns. This year, 48% right now. That is a huge difference. And I'm sure Christian McCaffrey is a part of that. But is he really 20 points? Well, I think we're going to find out. If the 49ers can match the energy of Tampa Bay and score touchdowns in this game, we've already seen that their offense has been efficient and effective enough to run with anyone. So this is going to be a good one inside the red zone. You look at defenses, and neither one of these defenses have been good in the red zone. 49ers giving up touchdowns at 61%. Tampa Bay Buccaneers giving them up at 60%. So both of these teams' goals are going to be keep the opposing team out of the red zone because our defense inside the red zone is just not good. And so 49ers got the tough matchup of Baker Mayfield and a very good offense in the red zone. This one leans towards Tampa Bay. A really good red zone offense and a 49ers bad red zone defense. And you're talking about third downs and red zone could be huge in this game. Those are some tough matchups for the 49ers. So they're going to have to make sure they play a lot better in the red zone in the second half of the season if they are going to have a chance to make it to the playoffs and win the division. But I think this is going to be one of the keys. Keep Tampa Bay out of the red zone in this game. You look at the points allowed per game, 49ers giving up 22.8. Not where you want to be. You want to drop this thing down 18 or under your really good defense. Last year, 49ers were around 17. So really good job last season. This season, they've been giving up about 5 to 6 more points per game. You've got to clean it up. You got a second half of the season and a chance to do so. You look at Tampa Bay. They're scoring 29 points per game, and they're giving up 27. That's why they're 4-5. Their defense has let them down consistently this season. 49ers got to go score points against that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. They're going to give them opportunities, and they have to go seize those opportunities. So both these teams haven't been as good points per game allowed, but when you look at Tampa Bay, that's just not good at all. And so there's been a lot more opportunities in the red zone, and they have given up more touchdowns when they've had the chance. They've got to get a lot better inside the red zone and allowing points. You look at yards allowed per game, 49ers at around 315, not bad at all. Get this under 300, you're feeling really good. You look at Tampa Bay, they're nearly giving up 400 yards per game. The defense is the bugaboo for Tampa Bay. The offense is efficient. They're effective. Baker Mayfield's playing so good. They've got a good run game. When Mike Evans is back, they're going to have a really good passing attack. It's the defense that's letting them down, and I can't really figure out why when you look at the names of the guys that they have. When they have a run stopper like Vita Vea, and they have a really good player on the outside like Kalia Cansey, and they have Joe Tryon, and it's just a lot of guys that they have a lot of ability that they've got to be able to play better defense than this. But right now, I hope for one more week they don't. I want the 49ers to be able to be effective on offense against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Now, you look at the passing yards allowed per game, 49ers doing a pretty good job hovering around 209, and they are actually the number 2 passing defense in the entire, as far as DVOA, in the entire league. So the pass defense and pass coverage has not been the huge problem for the 49ers. The games that they've lost is when they've allowed a really good run game to get going. That's when they start to falter down the stretch. Saw Arizona get a run game going. We saw the Rams get a run game going. They were able to cut into the 49ers lead and eventually overtake them. So passing attack hasn't been a huge problem for the 49ers to be able to slow down, but they're going to be going against a good one against Tampa Bay. Now, you look at Tampa Bay, they give up 256 yards per game through the air. 49ers average 253. You're probably going to get the 49ers having a lot of opportunities to get some things going in the passing game. And now with Christian McCaffrey coming back, going to space the field. They're going to find some unique matchups. It should make it easier for George Kittle. It should make it easier for Deebo Samuel. And, of course, now we get to see what Ricky Pearsall can do inside this offense. There's going to be opportunities against this Tampa Bay Buccaneers passing defense. You look at the run defense, the Bucs just haven't been good. They're giving up 130 yards per game. That's not good at all. And I talked about Vita Vea and those guys in the middle, so you're not really expecting them to give up yards on the ground, but they are. And the 49ers rush for 159 yards per game without Christian McCaffrey. This is an advantage 49ers. 49ers run game versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers run defense is definitely slanted in the 49ers' favor. So we've talked about ones that are slanted in Tampa Bay's favor. Well, now we've got a couple that are slanted in the 49ers' favor. Passing attack versus the Buccaneers defense, and also run game versus the Buccaneers defense. So this is one of those ones that could turn into a little bit of a shootout if the 49ers defense can't keep Baker Mayfield out of the end zone. But you've got an opportunity here. You've got an opportunity to run the football consistently, shorten this football game, and be highly effective on offense. And I expect McCaffrey to get carries. I expect Jordan Mason to get carries. Maybe even sprinkle in some Isaac Guerrero as well, his explosiveness. So we'll see. But I think the 49ers are going to go in there and try to make a concerted effort to run the ball against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this game. Now you look at defensive DVOA, and the San Francisco 49ers are at number 5. Very effective, very efficient. And if you asked fans, they would probably tell you there's no way they think they're number 5 DVOA. But they have been playing like that this season. So get better on third down, get better in the red zone, and you have a really good chance to be an elite defense. So that's what the things the 49ers got to work on. Look at Tampa Bay. Their defense is the weak spot. This is the advantage for 49ers. They're just not as good as they have been in the past. So even though Baker Mayfield and the offense are phenomenal, the defense has definitely been a little bit of a struggle for Tampa Bay, but they have moments. Last week against Kansas City, they had moments as well where they looked pretty good. Let's talk about turnovers. San Francisco 49ers giveaways 11. Now, one less game, so keep that in mind. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 12. Neither one of these teams are doing terrible when it comes to turning over the football. I'm sure they would love to see this down, right? If you're the 49ers, you've played 8 games. You would love it to be 8 or less. Tampa Bay, you've played 9. You would love this to be 9 or less. You don't want to turn over the football every single game, and you definitely don't want to turn over the football more than one time per game. So both need to be a little bit better when it comes to giving away the football, but neither has been egregious this season. You look at takeaways. 49ers are doing a very good job of getting the ball back to their offense. 49ers number 2 in the NFL in interceptions. They've done a really good job this season. Number 2 in the NFL when it comes to takeaways. So they are finding the ball, they're getting the ball, and not always capitalizing like we're hoping, but they are giving opportunities and they're getting sudden changes in momentum, which are huge. The Bucs, they haven't done as good, but still doing pretty good. Only 4 fewer than the 49ers, but once again, 49ers in less games. You're nearly talking about 2 turnovers created per game for the 49ers, where the Bucs is not even close. So it's a big difference. 1 for the Bucs per game, 2 for the 49ers. Pretty tremendous when you're talking about what that means for your football team. So when it comes to turnover differential, you see 49ers are +4, Tampa Bay Buccaneers -1. So you want to be plus category. Last year, 49ers finished the season +10. Phenomenal. They need to get better there. When Brock Purdy doesn't turn over the football, the San Francisco 49ers are 15-0. Got to be a key for this football team. Take care of the football on offense. On defense, get some turnovers. That's your best opportunity to win this game. Get after Baker Mayfield. Force him to feel uncomfortable. Flush him out of the pocket and get him down with sacks. Also force him to make some tough throws where you could potentially turn over the football. Going to be huge in this game. And the 49ers +5 when it comes to turnover differential over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could be a huge advantage. So you're finding advantages for both teams in this game. It's going to be a lot of fun. You look at special teams, DVOA, 49ers at 30. They've actually moved up another spot after their great performance against the Dallas Cowboys, who was the number 1 DVOA team in the NFL, and they outplayed them in that game. You look at Tampa Bay, they haven't been great either, number 25. This isn't really an advantage for either football team. 49ers are getting back Jake Moody. That should be huge as far as special teams goes. So 49ers are definitely trending in the right direction, but they've got a long ways to go. They've only moved up 2 spots. Just counting as a little trend. We're hoping that they can move up and have another really good game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because we do not want the San Francisco 49ers special team unit to let this football team down. So I think when you look at the numbers, you get some very good details. Number one, 49ers got to be a lot better in the red zone. Tampa Bay has a huge advantage in the red zone. 49ers got to be better on third down, offensively and defensively. Tampa Bay definitely has an advantage with converting on offense on third down. Those are key advantages. Now, when you look on the other side, 49ers advantage in the run game and being able to run the ball against a bad run defense for Tampa Bay should give the 49ers some opportunities. Plus, you throw in the fact they're going to have Christian McCaffrey and Jawan Jennings. That should help elevate third down conversion rate. The Buccaneers aren't that great stopping people on third down. Then the biggest question of this football game, and could be the determining factor on who wins, is how much effectiveness does Christian McCaffrey cause by being on the field. If all of a sudden their red zone offense goes from 48% to 60%, 49ers have a really good chance to win this football game. If it stays status quo, Tampa Bay Buccaneers might outscore the 49ers and win this game. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be a fun matchup between two exciting teams. Of course, you get the Nick Bosa versus Baker Mayfield, but I got a lot of respect for Baker Mayfield. Let's see what the 49ers do. They're getting players back. They're excited. They want to start a second-half surge. Last year, they got the second-half surge started by beating a team in Florida in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Can they get it done in Florida again, coming out of their bye week, this time against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Going to be interesting. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate it. Listen to audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network. Please give it a 5-star rating. This episode was brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.